Welcome to Wreck Rides, where we feature unique off-road rigs and give them in-depth build breakdowns. If this is something you might be interested in, then stick around, and if you like what you see, make sure to give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos.
I'm Alec Yeager. This is Rock's Dawg. It's a totally hydraulic, expandable frame rock crawler.
Alec is the most innovative rock crawler builder there is, pushing the limits of off-road engineering and proving his build's capabilities with some of the most legendary rock crawlers in the game. Though these two cars look completely different, they are in fact the exact same car, able to change many parts of its geometry and traverse the next level terrain like no other car, and this is how. When building a rock crawler, one of the toughest decisions to make is your length of wheelbase and your belly clearances. Longer wheelbase helps you climb taller, more vertical obstacles, but will cause an issue going over tall breakovers due to your tires being so far apart, causing your belly of the chassis to hang up on that breakover. Alec's Rock's Dawg abnormal chassis has made both the wheelbase and ride height variable, allowing him to make his rig adjust for almost any obstacle. Another huge part of a rock crawler is weight balance. Ideally, you want it low center of gravity and you want it balanced from front to back and side to side as much as you can to give optimal performance on most obstacles. Due to abnormal Buggy's combination of extending and raising, he is able to manipulate not only the front and rear weight, but he can change the weight and stability by leaning side to side. Time traveling back to our very first Wreck Rides on our channel, you can see that one of Alec's older prototypes was the start of our Wreck Ride series, and I can't tell you how special it is to come back and try to give his newest one a little more justice, as wrecked gear has come a long way and Alec's builds have improved immensely. I encourage you to go back to our very first Wreck Rides and see how much Alec's Rigs and Wrecked Gear channel has advanced over the years. I hope this shows you and inspires you to be creative and build outside the box. Stick with your passions, then growth and refinement will come naturally. Now let's jump right into the build breakdown and see what the abnormal buggy is made of. Rock Dawg Abnormal is like no other chassis. Unlike a normal build that takes 2 to 6 months, the abnormal buggy has been built over the last 10 years, gaining and losing parts to refine itself at its current stage today. This car is powered by a VW 1.9 TDI diesel motor. Instead of a transmission, the motor is connected to a double pump Sawyer Danfoss hydrostat that is most commonly used in large skid steer tractors. Motor is cooled by a rear mounted radiator with 16 cooling fans. Reason being is if one breaks, you have 15 more to do their job. The hydrostat is then connected by hydraulic lines that connect two Rexroth variable speed bent axis motors located on each axle. This system replaces the need for drive lines, allowing the wheelbase to be variable. The hydrostat can not only do front and rear digs, but it can overdrive and underdrive both axles. It also has the capability for the axles to drive in separate directions. Axles are fabbed trail gear housings with Jesse Haynes portals, Yukon inner shafts, and U-joints. Yukon gears with Grizzly lockers, with the front and rear hydro steering. An abnormally vertically mounted Warn winch in the front. On all four corners, it's got trail-ready beadlocks and 42-inch BFG crawler red labels that look like they just won't die. Now let's talk about what sets this buggy apart from others. Each corner has an ORI strut that are mounted to a lever that is lifted and lowered independently by a hydraulic ram. Each corner has 3 foot of clearance travel, not including the travel from the ORI struts. Not only does this lift your chassis or lower it depending on the clearance issues or lowering for center of gravity, but you can also lean side to side to keep optimal stability on off-camber or straight-up climbs. The major feature that sets this buggy apart is the variable wheelbase. It has 4 scissor-style slide-out beams integrated into the chassis with 4 massive 48-inch hydraulic rams that allow him to extend or retract his wheelbase from 68 inches all the way out to 207 inches, making wheelbase problems everyone else's but his problem. Once Alec lowers this sucker back down, we will take a look at the cockpit. It is a super clean and functional dash panel and a pair of comfy built to match PRP seats, but that's it. Everything else in this thing is built for function. No floorboards, no panels, just pure openness. For him to be able to monitor gauges, lines, and to be able to route levers and controls freely without having to cram anything in any tight spaces. Due to him being the only expert of the controls and how they work, I'll let him give you a quick rundown on all the switches and levers.
First thing, it's a prototype. That's why I like prototypes. I don't have to make them clean and shiny and nice. Controls. This is my variable speed for the hydrostat is variable speed, and then on the drives, the bent axis motors that drive the rear ends and then front end is variable speed, so that controls the variable speed there. So now I finally got everything dialed in, got rid of all the computer controlled stuff on my hydraulic motors. It's all mechanical now. I've machined everything, went all mechanical, so this just runs an actuating motor, so I can go from 0 to 60 mile an hour now, which is cool. Could never do that before.
That's crazy.
That's rear steer. This makes the front longer, this makes the rear longer. This raises, very basic, fairly simple to drive, because that raises the front, that raises the back, and that lowers the back. So they're all, and I've also got rear steer up here, so when I'm trying to back down a hill, I can steer it with that same hand.
That's awesome.
This is my throttle. I don't have enough arms and fingers to run a gas pedal, because what would be your gas pedal runs a hydrostat lever forward and back. So I'm running cruise control. So this here, I set my cruise, set it whatever speed I want, and then it holds it there. So that keeps the RPM, so when it needs power, it gives it power. Works like a governor.
Man, you'd have to have some serious training to hop in this and drive it.
Yeah. When I'm going down the road, these are check valves, so I can freewheel going down the road, so when you let off the hydrostat, it doesn't throw you through the windshield. It's on the reverser. This is the reverser to reverse it. This is the brake over here. So just a few extra controls. The gauges here let me dial in the pressure. I can watch how much pressure is going to each pump. And the nice thing about that is, in low gear basically, I can run about 5,000 PSI on these pumps, and it stalls the pumps out before I break my gears. So that's a big plus, having a fuse built in the system. So when you're in nasty stuff, there's times you'd like to have a little more power, but I can't break it. So I say that and we'll blow it up there.
I sure hope we don't blow it up, but I think we're all ready to see how this thing actually does on the trails. This obstacle here is at least 10 foot straight up a couple massive Johnson Valley boulders. There may be a chance I could get this line in my rig, but I would have to give it a rowdy bump just to try to get my tires to grab the top. Alec being able to extend to where his tires grab the top while his rears are still on the bottom keeps him absolutely stable. Then walking the rear axle up made this obstacle look effortless. This next one, he kept it in a pretty basic wheelbase and didn't use any extending of the chassis or lifting the belly. He just used his rear steer and was able to crawl this line just like any other normal rear steer buggy you would see on our channel. We talked about each corner of this buggy has about 3 foot of adjustment, being able to adjust for stability. You can see him do this with his rear axle. As it gets a little off camber, he's able to move the 2 rear corners to stabilize his buggy and put more pressure down to get more traction. Here he is, roughly on a 16-foot climb. He's able to move his front axle up and then holds the front brake to hold him in place while walking up the rear axle. He does this a few times, just like an inchworm, and it works out flawlessly. We also talked about how wheelbase is great for going up steep obstacles. This is a give and take. With the longer the wheelbase, the more the belly of your rig is going to get hung up on sharp breakovers. Once he gets up the wall, he tries to go over and bellies out, but he's able to lift the front of the chassis to clear the breakover. I've heard stories how Alec has wheeled with legends like Kevin Carroll, Tracy Jordan, and Justin Kyleman, breaking some of the hardest trails out there to date. But wheeling with him and seeing this rig work in person has made me a full believer that this outside-of-the-box new buggy engineering kills massive obstacles with no sweat. What do you guys think? Is this where rock crawling's headed, or do you think a rig like this is cheating and takes the sport out of it? Let us know in the comments. Sponsored in part by BFGoodrich Tires, Warren Industries, KC HiLites, and AXEL Off-Road Helmets. Best way to support this channel is give that subscribe button a little skiddly-do, diddle that notification bell, give this video the fat finger, and leave a dirty little comment below. As always, thanks for watching.